Okay, so this is a quick overview of how to fill out a loan application. When we are trying to get a potential borrower pre-qualified, what we would ultimately do is do that on a standard loan application form. Now, we do have a pre-qualification form that we use as well, but typically this is the form that you're going to want to use. It's called the Uniform Residential Loan Application, or otherwise called Form 1003. It's actually a form by Fannie Mae. So a lot of times you'll see it as, well, this one's by Freddie Mac, but you'll see it says, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac Form 1003 right here. But anyway, you'll have a copy of this, obviously, as you go through it. Now, the first part of this is the type of mortgage in terms of the loan. Now, if you know what that is at the onset, you can put that in. So it can be a VA, which is a Veteran Affairs loan, FHA, which is a government loan, conventional, which is either through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, or I'm not quite sure what this is, Freddie Mac HA, I'm not sure what that is, or other. But you can use this for any loan that you ultimately want to apply for. This is where you put the amount of the loan. If you know that, here's where you put the interest rate, the number of months, which is usually going to be 360 months, which is the equivalent of 30 years. The amortization type, meaning whether it's a fixed or an ARM, or this is actually GPM stands for it's a something, growth payment mortgage or something, I forget, but you're never really going to use that in any given case. If you know the property information, this is where you would put it. You put its address, street, state, and zip. Number of units, so if it's a duplex, triplex, fourplex, this is where you would put this in. If it's a commercial building that has more than 5, you'd use that as well. Here's a legal description of the property. Now, technically, if you are just pre-qualifying somebody, we do not have all of this information up front, you do not need to fill it in. If it's a refinance loan and we already know what the address is and all of that, we can fill that in here, which is the year it was acquired, its original cost, how much they currently own on the existing liens, purpose of the refinance, so whether that's cash out or what's called a rate and term, meaning that they're just going to reduce the rate or change the term of the loan. If there are going to be improvements made and things of that nature. Here's where you would put how title will be held. So if it's going to be as a joint tenant, or if it's going to be tenant in common, if it's going to be community property, that's where you would put that there. That's actually the manner in which it will be held. Title will be held in the name of the borrower, or in the name of the company, or whatever the case might be. Let's see. Estate will be held in fee simple or leasehold. Basically, you very rarely, if ever, have to fill that in. But basically, fee simple means that the property is owned outright, both the property and the land. Leasehold means that you own the property, or you own the house, the structure, but not the land. The land is actually being leased, and then there needs to be an expiration date for that. But truthfully, when you're just qualifying somebody and you want to see if they'd be pre-approved, you'd start from this section here. So this would be section 3. And you would simply input their name, social security number, their phone number, how old they are, so their age here, the number of years that they are in school. Typically, people, if they're in high school, it's 12 years. If they went to college, 16. If they went to master's, 18. If they're a doctorate, it's more than that, right? But that kind of gives you a sense on that. We need to know if they're married, separated, or unmarried, if they have dependents, and then what their ages are. Then we want to know what their address is. We need to know whether they own or if they rent, and then how long they've been at that residence. And that's the same goes for the co-borrower. If they've been at their current residence for less than 2 years, we put their information in here, right? And we put the number of years, whether they rented or whether they owned. If they were, for example, only here for a year and they were here for 6 months and they still didn't equal 2 years, you put another address here. So we need to at least equal 2 years. And here is where we would put employment information. So we take the name and address of their employer, or if they're self-employed, we click this box, so we check that box. Years on the job, we can put there. So if it's 15, we just put 15, whatever the case might be. This particular form enables you to input the information into the form. Some do not, and you have to write it down. But the ones that I'll be providing to you allows you just to populate it. Oh, maybe not in total. Should allow you to just populate it accordingly. The position and the type of business. So this is where you would put their position title. So if they're a shopkeeper, if they are a server, if they are a teacher, this is where you put there. And then the type of business, if you put that there as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. Same thing, obviously, for the co-borrower. If they've been in their job for less than 2 years, we put the other employment up to 2 years. And third employer, again, up to 2 years if it wasn't the case. Then we come over here to income. So here we would put what both the borrower and the co-borrower's base income. And it's always on a monthly basis. That's the most important thing. So someone says I make $50,000 a year, you're going to take 50,000 divided by 12, and that'll give you a base monthly income. So for example, we took 50,000 and we divided it by 12. That ends up being $4,166. So you go 4,166, right? And if they get any overtime, that's where you would input it there. If they get any bonuses, because this is just the base. So if they say, hey, look, every year I get a $6,000 bonus, right? So $6,000 divided by 12 would be $500, right? So we would add that there. And if they get commissions, or if they're on commission income, we put it there. If they get rental income from properties that they own, they would put it there. So they say net rental income. So let's say they own a property and they get another $300 a month. So we would just go 300 there. And if they get any other income, so child support, settlement income, retirement income, that's where we would put that in this other area as well. So we would simply total that up. So that's 800 plus 4166, which would be 4966. And that's where that income would be. We do the same thing for the co-borrower, and then we would add everything up in this total column. Make sense? Then we would come over here and we'd figure out what their expense ratio is for real estate. So if they rent currently, this is where we would put that information. So say their current rent is $2,000 a month, right? That's where we would put it, and then that's all they have is that $2,000 rent, and we would go here. Now, in contrast, if they had a mortgage and they're buying one house and leaving another or something like that, let's say their mortgage payment is $2,500, and they've got hazard insurance that's costing them $250, and real estate taxes are costing them $350, and mortgage insurance is included in the deal. They also have HOA, homeowners association dues, for another $200. Oops. For another $200. So now we're looking at $600, $800 plus the $2,500, which would be $3,300. So their total would be $3,300. Make sense? So that's where we would put it there. Now, proposed is what we believe they would ultimately be paying. Now, if we have already a property in place, or if it's a refinance, something like that, we can put the proposed here because we basically be calculating what it would be. But if we're just pre-qualifying somebody, we can't put that in there because we don't know what it is. And that's how that would work. Now, other income, so if we put other income and we put a dollar amount there, then they would want us to describe what that other income came from. So here we would go, if it came from the borrower, they'd want us to put B, so for borrower, and then we would say, for example, child support. Right? If it came from the co-borrower, then we would put C, and we might say, I don't know, alimony. Thank you. Right? And then we would just put the monthly amount here at the end. Then we come over here to the asset and liability section. Now, this is really important. When you're just taking a paper application like this, we never, ever, ever are going to put the liability section in. Never going to put that in, because that's going to populate when they do the credit report. Because we don't want them to give us liabilities that they have that don't show up on the credit report. The only thing that matters is what's on the credit report. So we're only going to deal with assets. And we say, how much cash they have. So we put that here, right? So let's just say it's 30,000. This is cash, not in the bank. This is just cash, right? So let's say it's 5,000, right? And then we would then put the banking information. So they would say I'm with. This isn't my auto populator. Right. That's where you would put. Wells Fargo. And then you would put the address if you had it, and then you put the account number here if you had it. It's not critical when you're just getting a quote, though. So you don't have to go that deep into it. You just say, okay, who do you bank with? They say Wells Fargo. Okay, great. And how much do you have roughly in your account, right? And they're going to say, let's say, $21,000, right? So we just put that there. And then they'd say that maybe they have another account with Chase. And with the Chase one, we only have $3,000. Right? Then they ask if there's any stocks, bonds. This is where you would put like your 401k accounts or whatever. So let's just say it was with Liberty Mutual. And let's say that it was $50,000. Right? Just put that there. And if they have any life insurance that has a cash value, we would put that there. So let's just say that life insurance has a $10,000 cash value. So now we would just add up all of our liquid assets. So 50 plus 60 plus 3, which is 63,000. So it ends up being 84,000 plus the 5,000, which is 89,000. So we just come over here, and this is where we put that in, 89,000, and that's what that would be. Now, if we had real estate, we put the amount that they currently they owe. So if it's real estate, we might say they own a $400,000 property. Vested interest in a retirement fund, that's where we would put that information there. If they have a business, then they know the net worth, we would put it there. Automobiles that they own. So let's say they own a Ford Flex. Put that there, and we would also put the year. So let's just go 08 Ford Flex, right? And then we would put the estimated value. So let's just say it's 15,000. And then any other assets that they might have. So then we come down here and we would total all of their assets. So we just said 89,000 plus 15 would be 104,000. And that's their total assets. We're done with that, right? Then over here you got liabilities. Remember, we said we're not going to put any liabilities now, so we just skip that section. Then we come over here to assets and liabilities continue. If they have a property, we put that information there. Put the address of the property. So we just go 123 Main Street. Then we would go property type. Let's just say it's a single family residence. Its market value, we said was 400K, right? How much is existing on the loan? Let's say it's 380. And you would put the entire amount there, obviously, not the K. And then if you're getting income, and then mortgage payments, I think we said were 3,300. And then insurance and taxes, we put that there. Net rental income, we put that there. And then finally, we'd come down here. And if there was a specific transaction, we put all the details of the transaction. And here you just go through these questions very quickly. You answer yes or no. So are there any standing judgments against you? Yes, no, so forth. You go here, and then